Welcome to another edition of our Thought Leadership series for the City Business Festival 2024. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of the month, and it means we're wrapping up our conversations around various topics in the world of business. My name is Vivian Ka-Eloko. Thank you so much for joining us for another engaging and exciting discussion here at ChannelOne TV for our Thought Leadership series on the City Business Festival. Today we have another exciting discussion, one that affects many of us because that industry or that area covers many of us. I'm talking about the SME business, small and medium-sized enterprises, and most of us fall into that industry. But of course, it comes with its own challenges, it comes with its own opportunities, whether it's funding, whether it's growth, whether it's scaling up, and what have you. Today, we're looking at a lot around this industry. How do you move your business to the next level? We'll look at funding, we'll look at human resources, we'll look at strategy, we'll look at development, and many things. Stay with me. When I come back, I'll introduce my guest to you who will help us maneuver our way through this very exciting discussion. We'll be right back. So welcome back to the City Business Festival Forum. We're looking at the SMEs today, and let me just say that this year's edition of the City Business Festival is powered by 97.3 City FM and ChannelOne TV in partnership with Absa Bank. They've been great from day one, and they're still powering us. They did last year and a few years back, and they're still with us. It's also sponsored by MTN, AMG Fertilizer, Insano, and Agri Impact Limited, as well as Gersel. So let me introduce my guest today, who will help us dissect the various issues. Remember, we want it to be as engaging as possible, so I'll announce our phone lines pretty soon. You can send us a WhatsApp message and send your comments or questions, and we'll gladly take them and get our guests to answer them. So I have with me a gentleman who is new to this here, but he's very versed in his industry. Last year, 3 of my guests were with us. This year, we have a 4th person, and I'm going to introduce him. He's Dr. Edward Kwapon. He's the president of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you.
This is your first time with us, and we are happy to have you.
I'm equally happy to be part of this
Great, welcome.
celebration.
Thank you. And then we also have with us Dr. Andrew Eyuku, who is the coordinator of the MBA on Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the UPSA. Remember, last year he gave us some great tips. Have you been able to implement them? We'll look at that. But Doc, welcome.
Thank you.
And then we also have with us our very beautiful and intelligent Audrey Abaka, head of SME banking at ABSA, also returning to help us to maneuver our ways around finance and funding. Audrey, welcome.
Thank you so much, Vivian.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, too.
Good. And then, of course, we have with us our strategist. He's always giving us good tips on, building, the scaling up and all that. Michael Cotto, Chief Strategist at Confidence. Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
The things you told me to do last year, I haven't done all, but don't blame me. I'm trying. Gentlemen and lady, please, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for another discussion. So we'll quickly go into our discussions, but before that, let me announce the phone lines. 02444 7033, 020-444 7033. I'll take that again, 020-444 7033. You can send us a WhatsApp message on that when I open the phone lines to that. So welcome again. Let me start with you, Andrew and Michael. You are strategists in SME things, but SMEs, they take about a bulk of our businesses in terms of the description, but I think we should even add the micro, because most of our businesses also fall within the micro side, so micro, small, and then medium. But how important are they to us as a country, where we're coming from? I'll start with you, Michael, and then Dr. Chippen.
So I'm happy that you added a micro, because I was going to mention that. It's really micro, small, medium. And the vast majority actually micro. The distinction between the micro and the small tends to blur depending on how you look at it. So that's really the case. The MSME sector is really what our economy is, essentially. Over 90% of the businesses in this country fall in this category. So that's practically the entire economy.
This is us.
Together, they constitute about roughly between 60 and 65% of our GDP, and about 80% of all jobs in this country. So the data is clear. You cannot talk about private sector development in this country without talking MSME, right? We, of course, have large enterprises, and they are very important, and we have to continue to explore ways and means of supporting the SMEs to scale into large companies, because we don't have a lot of it. If you look at the composition of the MSME sector, there's another challenge, which is that it's dominated by the micro and the small. So we don't have a lot of medium scale enterprises.
Why is that? Everybody is tiny somewhere. Why is that?
There's a lot of fundamental challenges to that, and I'm not sure we can exhaust all
Give
that
us maybe
conversation
top
here.
3.
But
So
there's
we know our problems.
I think there's a culture dimension to it. As a people, we just, I think, generally like to operate in small silos. It's a mindset issue. It's a mindset issue. I've spoken a lot about the need for partnerships as a pathway to scaling and building bigger enterprises. And I call it a partnership of rivals. We need that in Ghanaian industry. But I think that there's a fundamental culture and mindset issue. We don't like to collaborate and join forces and build big enterprises. So that's the first one. Everybody likes to do their one-person business, and they run it. So that's, I think, is a fundamental culture and mindset issue. But even those who want to scale and collaborate and build up, bigger enterprises, then run into the fundamental challenges of our business environment and operating environment. It's difficult to scale. You need access to capital and finance at cheap, affordable, long-term capital. It's important. I'm sure Audrey will go into those details, right? So,
help us there.
So cost of capital is very high. So it's not very affordable, but it's also very difficult to get long-term capital, patient capital that whether it's credit or equity, to be able to scale and build, because it's a lot of capital intensive process typically to scale. So that I'll say is the second one. Of course, there are all the other plenty challenges of doing business in Ghana. Taxes is an issue. Acquiring raw materials if you're in the manufacturing sector. Labor issues, access to skills, quality skills, and quality management. They're all the issues that we talk about all the time. But for me, scaling, it's a fundamental mindset issue. And I'll put at the biggest one, because in spite of all these challenges, if entrepreneurs decide to partner and join forces, they're stronger. And I think that's where, for me, I'll pin it to the main issue.
Right. Yeah. Doc, do you agree with that? And you are running an innovation and entrepreneurship thing. You are studying businesses, trying to get them to scale up. This cultural mindset thing, which looks like it's not going anywhere anytime soon, how do we flip it?
So I think for my university and the entrepreneurs that we work with, we are trying to introduce courses like family business, running family businesses, and how to scale up. So scale up is becoming one of the courses that we are teaching them to encourage them. But as my colleague said, it's the mindset. People's mindset is just to hold on to something small. So when you ask them, what are you doing? I run a small business. They feel the moment they say, yes. The moment they say, I just do it alone. It's always how they want to pitch. So when they go to pitch events, that's how they introduce their businesses. So this needs to change. We need to change everything. And when the support is there, like what is there, the regulatory framework helps people to think outside the box, not to box themselves and then say that, okay, I run something small.
Yeah.
We cannot continue to grow. So when we're running businesses like family business, and we are giving examples from Kenya, from India, what case studies, they are so shocked that businesses of this nature from the rest, those we have in Ghana, have gone so many years because it's a deliberate decision that is taken from the top. But any SME, anybody who we are helping to develop their business idea, they will tell you, I just want something small. The moment you are trying to think
Are we too
beyond you.
modest?
Oh, I think it's our mindset. Because when you bring guest speakers, I brought one from, I think, House to come and speak to them. And how his grandfather told them that it's deliberate. No matter the school you went to, you have to come and grow. And even now, he's telling them you have to grow the business. A typical Ghanaian will be shocked that somebody have such an intention, very intentional, just to develop their idea.
Yeah.
So we stay with only one skill. We don't want to be multitasked. You work with people and this only, I did only accounting, they can't do something else. That is our mindset, and which needs to change in this country, because SMEs helps with economic development, regional development. Look at all the businesses that just left the country. Who is providing the kind of services they offer? Is the SME. So unless the government and everybody changes our mindset about what they do for this country, we'll still be where we are.
Audrey, let me bring you in, because you deal with, hundreds of them based on what you do and all that. How do you think they are faring when considering all the things they've said, the environment and all that? This is worrisome.
Yeah, because you see, from my perspective, and like you mentioned, I've dealt with hundreds of them. From the time that COVID broke out globally and devastated lives, businesses, and economies, the SME sector has been under stress. It has been under intense pressure. And year on year, so much uncertainty, you don't know what is coming next. After COVID, the Russian-Ukraine war came with its whole challenges to deal with, impacting, inflation heavily, and then affecting cost of doing businesses. And then just last year, I call it economic meltdown, to be honest with you, because it was scary at a point. Every single day you wake up to see your currency depreciating. And as an import-driven economy, most of the things that we use, we eat, even tomatoes, we import it. You would have to exchange your CD into the major trading currencies. And you need more CDs to buy, to come and sell. You have to transfer that cost to the consumer. And the consumer was stressed and therefore would have to decide which goods and services to buy. So you will notice that businesses that are in the non-essential, sector are struggling, because now the consumers are limiting their purchases. There's a client that deals in exotic fruit. Now, Michael, even myself, I have reduced the amount of fruits, exotic fruits that I eat. So her business, declined, and she was about to lay off her employees, and we had to intervene. And we had supported her to, build cold rooms in several, locations. So we advised her, why don't you diversify your product and go into cold foods? Yeah. So she has included, the cold foods, and then she's doing well in that area. So her business has been saved. There are many of such stories where businesses are striving to actually stay afloat, not to grow, to survive, because they haven't come out of the woods yet. The economy is still tough and hard. Last year, inflation was at its highest level, 50%.
Yeah.
Interest rate, in fact, as a bank, last year, I remember my boss told me that, Audrey, we will not cross 40%. We will not even go to 40%. So we did everything possible to ensure that our interest rate was below 40%, while others were above 40%. And which business would come to you to borrow? You know, Michael was talking about mindset. Yes, mindset plays a role, but every business needs money. They need capital. When you are small, you are micro, you can access as much as small capital from the banks. And when you are also small, you know, you don't have the capacity to borrow at 40%.
Yeah, you won't get that.
To continue to, you know, run your business. So you won't borrow at all. So you continue to stay where you are. It takes a growing business that has the structures, the processes, the right models, the systems that the banks are comfortable with to borrow at certain, you know, levels, and also access long-term financing. The small businesses, the least you can access is short-term, 1 year, because you are deemed risky. So when the bank invests in you, they want their money quickly. So 1 year you should pay. You can't use a short-term, you know, money to scale or grow your business. You understand? So in terms of how the economy or the sector is faring, to be honest with you, it is tough for a lot of businesses. That is why you will see GUTA coming out and then aggressively opposing some of these taxes, the new taxes that the government is, you know, bringing up. The taxes on electricity, taxes on, you know, emission and all that. And then above all, look at the power irregularity. You know, I thought that it was Ghana until I went to South Africa and I realized
they have a huge power.
Even Kenya.
Kenya,
there's so much irregularity, you know. So businesses are struggling. If you don't have the capacity to have alternative power supply, then it means that, you know, your business will not perform as expected. So things are tough. There are challenges. This is why I think that the key stakeholders in the SME ecosystem must pay attention to this sector. If we believe, like Michael said, that this sector is so important and contributes significantly to the economic's growth and development in job creation, you know, poverty alleviation, and GDP contribution, in times like this, just as during COVID there were government interventions, government must come in and intervene. You know, provide things like guarantees to enable banks to lend at cheaper rate. He mentioned that SMEs want what? Lower cost of borrowing. So we need to find ways of bringing our cost of lending down so that these SMEs can easily access funding to run their businesses.
Right. Well, I'll come back into more detail, but I want to bring in Doc because, you know, there's an issue about the labor force, whether they're skilled, rightly skilled. We've all experienced an artisan one way or the other, the way they do things, you know, attention to detail and the challenges and all that. In this difficult period where people are thinking about costs, they're thinking about how to scale up, they're thinking, how do you, you know, manage your workforce, you know, in this time where your mind has to be, you know, set for other things and know that I have a team that will support, but you find them coming with so many, you know, issues and challenges.
Yes, we need to set up a framework for ensuring that you have the right skill sets at the workplace. In the big companies and government agencies, we have something we call the system of progression and terminal points, or the scheme of service, which defines the skills required for every job, the skill sets, and then the experience. And if you want to grow in the organization, you need to meet certain requirements at every stage before eventually you get to the top. If you go to the SME space, they don't have it, and they are not interested. They want the cheapest source of labor, and therefore anybody they find in the labor market, they invite over to come and work with them. So things are not streamlined in the SMEs, and that's one of their biggest issues. But going back to the mindset thing, is our values, the cultural values of this country. We tend to believe in the sole owner of a business.
Sole proprietorship.
Sole proprietorship. For good reason and for bad reason. Some of us are selfish. We set up a business is succeeding, and therefore we want to own that success. We don't want to bring in any other person to come and share in the credit. So it's one thing. When I'm doing succession planning as an HR person training, I always refer to a company whose name I'll not mention here, but they were into automobile industry, distributing cars in this country. The owner was very protective of his staff. So he only employed family members. And even when he was impressed upon to like float shares, he said, no, it's my business, I started it, no way. Somehow he believed in education, so he sponsored his oldest son to go and do an MBA in the 70s and 80s in the US. He came back and he had a different mindset. He came and immediately floated shares. And that company became one of the biggest automobile companies in this country. Okay. All right. So it's like they said, it's a matter of mindset and also the cultural values. Why should I bring somebody on board when I've struggled so hard to set up my business?
But don't they have genuine concerns? And I'll take a break. When I come back, I'll let you guys answer. Genuine concerns where people have brought people in and they've lost everything. They brought people in and things have been destroyed. They brought people in and it didn't work because the mindset of some of our Ghanaian workers is also problematic. The culture, if that they even bring into the organization, will come to work late. They don't have respect for lay down structure and so many challenges that come with it. I have to take a quick break and make some money. When I come back, I'll let you try and answer that, because the reality is this is what we are facing. We don't want to expand. I mean, I'm guilty. My company is solely owned, and these are some of the things I think about when I want to open up, and it's what it is. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll force our guests to answer these questions and many more. Stay with us. Welcome back to the City Business Festival, our Thought Leadership Series. We have brought to you 3 forums so far. We started with Digital Technology Week 1. We moved to the agricultural industry in our second week. Our third week, we moved to the creative industry. And in our final week, we are looking at SMEs, the bone of our economy in terms of its growth and development. And today we're looking at issues within the industry, how we can scale up as businesses and how we can move it forward and compete with the huge companies we see across the world. And I have with me 4 people who are helping look at the issues. I have Dr. Edward Kwapo. He's the president of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management. I also have with me Dr. Andrew Ayiku, coordinator of the MPBA on Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the UPSA. I also have Audrey Apaka, Director, SME, Agency Banking and Partnerships at APSA, and then Michael Kocher, who is the Managing Partner of Confidence. Now, this year's edition of the City Business Festival is, of course, powered by City FM as well as ChannelOne TV. We are doing this in partnership with APSA Bank, and we are sponsored by MTN, AMP Fertilizer, and Sano Agri Impact Limited, and Gerso. So before we took the break, we're looking at the cultural mindset, how we can change this, and why it's so entrenched, and we are finding it difficult to flip the coin. So gentlemen and lady, I'll come back to all of us on this because I think we're all vexed in that. I mean, there are real concerns from these businesses in not wanting to open up in terms of the shareholding and all that. No? Anybody can take it.
Yeah.
There are genuine concerns. They're absolutely genuine concerns. I've had a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners complain about theft by employees.
Yeah.
It's, trust issues. Usually when businesses want to open up, and bring in other people into their equity ownership, in many instances they'll start with employees. Just to build commitment, long-term commitment. You give employees some sort of stake in the entity, right? But we know that there are trust issues. We know, we're from this society, we know it's an issue. But I think that's not an excuse. We know people have gone into business partnerships and, ended up with serious conflicts and, but I don't think it's an excuse because there's conflict, there are trust issues in every society, but there are ways to deal with them. I think we have to learn how to sign proper contracts, sign proper legal agreements that spells out all the details of the terms of whatever partnership we're entering. And hopefully that should provide some guidance in terms of, how the partnership evolves. There will always be conflicts. A good agreement will provide a framework for how to handle those conflicts when they happen. There'll be business agreements. A good agreement, it's supposed to provide a framework.
But why
for
you
handling
have
it.
the case, let's say my grandmother started a fruit business. We all wanted to scale before it will get down to be, let's say she's not properly educated to want to draft this contract you're talking about and all that. So she just wants to, stay small. We have a huge informal sector with a lot of these MSCs. So how do we, change that? Especially with education.
Yeah, that's true, but that's why there's education and business support, services are important to help. I think there's a limit to how much you can push this, right? Because there's definitely a large part of the informal sector that will be very difficult to push, legal paperwork and all of that because of all the things you've talked about. But there's also a large growing segment that is, educated, or if they are not educated, their children are educated, and their children tend to be interested in the business. I mean, a lot of these quote-unquote uneducated people go to banks and sign, paperwork. They go to banks to contract loans, and they sign paperwork. They may not be able to understand everything written in that text. They may not be able to read it themselves, but it is explained to them. They may bring a lawyer who reads and explains to them. So if a business is doing well, that shouldn't be an obstacle. I think, though, that the family business unit is a very, very important lens through which we should begin to explore how to, improve formalization and scaling of the SME sector. And the challenge we have is that a lot of the family businesses are set up by people who have little education or no education. And then from the business, they fund the education of their children, put them through very good education. By the time the children are done with university, they look at the business and they don't see themselves working in that business. They are not interested. But that is the business that has funded your education. So we need to find a way to resolve this challenge. In this country, the family businesses that have survived the longest are usually the Indian and the Lebanese businesses, right? And there's no reason why we can't borrow a lot of the best practices from them. They are also operating in the same market. They are also operating under the same business conditions. Of course, the cultural issues are different. But what I've noticed is that for a lot of them, they get their children involved in the business very, very early on.
From day one,
From day one, right? And if you look at the educational trajectory, even if you're going to university, you made to understand that this is where you're coming to work, right? So there's that orientation. I think we can encourage it. We need to spotlight success stories. And I know that what Doc is doing, spotlighting some of those success stories, we need to share a lot of them. And they are good success stories. But you're right, we need to provide support systems, to make sure that those who are willing can be supported, to access the right support, whether it's legal support or structuring the business, and then the intergenerational differences, if between the first generation and the second generation, how to
marry the two.
How to marry the two, because they tend to come with different ideas and concepts about how to run the business. I have a client who, first generation, built a very successful agrochemical business. And the second generation wants now to invest in the business. And one of the challenges is differences in strategic, approaches in terms of how to, right? The first generation, I have my way of doing this. I've done it successfully for 20 years. The new generation wants to restructure the business completely before investing in it. Again, there can be those disparities in how to approach it, but it can be done.
Okay.
It can be done.
Doc, let me bring your thoughts on this. We're in a country where when we become well-to-do, we don't even speak our languages with our children. It's English at home, English at school, English everywhere, throwing away that, part. We're in a country where the business that, like you said, put the food on the table, when we educate our children, we say, go and do something else. You should go and live in the US and be this and that. So from day one, we've killed the business that we're supposed to open up. I mean, how do we realign this?
Well,
And it's becoming worse with this generation, with us.
Again, it's a cultural issue. When you have your kids abroad, it gives you a source of pride. My
Some
kids
status.
are in the US. Yeah, status. My children are in the UK, the US, and all that. So it's a cultural issue. But let us go to the fundamentals. When you set up a business, what are the key requirements in terms of skills to run the business successfully?
Yeah.
We all go after accountants. So when you go to any of these small and medium-sized industries, they have finance officers. Beyond that, you drill, and they don't have, it's all family members without any specialized skills trying to run the business. It doesn't help. I think agencies like, now it's not NPSSI, it's now GEA. They should define or assist businesses to define the critical skills needed to run a successful SME in this country.
Okay.
And then perhaps they can even assist with the training, be it their own children or workers already in the business, to train and acquire the requisite skills to be able to run the business. People play down HR. So anybody at all with administration background comes in and is the HR
Can
manager.
hire and fire?
But the HR is very specialized, and we should go in for, specialized skills.
But can the MSc afford HR,
Finance,
accountant?
yes.
This one, that one, at that point.
Well,
I know it's right, but
yeah.
Can they?
Yeah, but if you have grown somebody from within, or if you have put your own child into one of these areas and he comes back with a determination to support the business grow, it should work.
Okay, so you can put in your family, but let them have the right training for the
Absolutely,
specific roles.
absolutely.
Okay.
The earlier example I gave,
Yeah.
the guy went to the US to acquire an MBA, and he came with a different outlook and was able to lift the business to a higher height.
Yeah.
That we should do. But otherwise, it's family business. So anybody at all who comes and shows interest, we put him in there, and he has nothing to offer, and we spend money on them. Or in the alternative, why don't we hire the services of some of these consultants to assist us, build the business, build the skills. And training is not just going to the classroom to acquire the skill. At times on the job training. So if you bring in somebody for just 1 year and he's able to set up the systems and train your people, he can withdraw and then you can keep going. So for me, we should define the skills needed to run the business, and then we go look for people from within and from without to push that agenda.
Okay. Mr. Andrew.
Okay, so for me, I think with small businesses, this whole idea of recruiting people and then doing their job description to suit them, which is totally wrong.
Okay.
You do the job description and look for the person who fits in that particular job description, because you know basically what you need. And when you are developing a business model, one of the key things is your resources, and that is the human resources. So we teach entrepreneurial leadership at the University of Professional Studies. And it will interest you when you ask student entrepreneurs running businesses, who will you employ? They will say a first degree holder. So their focus is on the hard skill. They've forgotten that the soft skills are needed for you to grow. You talked about the fact that businesses don't have money to hire all those things. Yes, but there are systems, there's digitization now. So when there are systems for you to work, but you need the human resource to be managed. They will go out there to sell. They will convince people. They will speak to people. They will manage the system. They do everything. So we need to deliberately train their capacity. Now check all what the donor agencies are doing. Everybody is running everything on finance. Any training, they will finance this. They've forgotten that when you give them the money, who's going to manage their money? I remember we went for monitoring for one of the foreign organizations. We are giving money to an entrepreneur, he has got a very big television and a latest iPhone, yeah? That is his thinking. Instead of putting it into systems. So we need to train people. We need, the SME, the business owner need to consider training as the cash cow of the organization, because you can't do everything on your own. I'm sure one of the trainings that ABSA does is to change your mindset about entrepreneurship, about managing money. Look at all the money they've given you. You have to go through training.
Yeah.
And that training is supposed to equip you to manage the money. But who's going to manage the money? You're the entrepreneur. So you need those soft skills. So it's not just the MBA, it's not the certificate, it's the soft skills to be able to manage your attitude, your emotions, and how can you empathize with customers. Now they don't buy. So how do you get them to buy from you? And the value of the organization is the employees.
Yeah.
No matter what. No matter what you put out there, your employees are key. So SMEs, if you want to grow, focus on who you are working with. Put system in place, but train them so that they will be able to develop and sell whatever products and services that you have.
But you know, you train them, within a few months they are gone.
Yes.
If you don't,
Attrition is another
is so
issue.
high.
Yes.
I mean, if you don't train them, who will you be working with now?
I know, but we are suffering though.
So
Exactly.
in another company, for instance,
Yes. Audrey, I'll come to you in a
they
bit.
introduced share ownership.
Okay.
They allow those with critical skills
Okay.
a certain level of shares
Okay.
in the
So
company.
tie you up.
Yeah, so that they box you in there and you're emotionally and financially
That's
attached
a
to
good
the
one
company.
to,
Yeah.
you know, to tie you there. Yes, Audrey.
Yes, so just to add to the conversation on the people
Side.
piece. Yeah, we are just talking about high attrition, and it is real on the ground. But one question we need to ask is, you know, how are the entrepreneurs themselves leading the people? Are they leaders? Have they built the leadership capacities, the leadership strength and skills, expertise to be able to manage people? Because people live because of people. And these SMEs, because in most cases the business starts with them, everything revolves around them. Around them, they possess all the knowledge about the business. You know, when they recruit people, you know, in most cases, their recruitment is not even, you know, through the right process.
Yeah.
They bring you on board. And when you come in, there isn't, you know, any proper orientation to orient you into the culture, because every business must have a culture. And businesses that centers around human beings, the culture of that organization is the person. So if you have a bad culture within the organization as a businessman or woman, then you have to check yourself. Possibly you have created that environment that possibly is hostile to those that come in to work with you.
Yeah.
And therefore, they get into the environment, and within the shortest possible time, they cannot contend with you. And most of these entrepreneurs, they are strong people. You have to be strong and tough to run businesses in Ghana.
In Ghana, yeah.
You understand? So when they bring in their strength and their energy, and that does not align with these young people they bring in, they can't survive it. And I think that, you know, we are in an era where information and knowledge has actually expanded beyond human imagination. Today, you do not need, you know, somebody to even teach you basic things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basic information on how to manage people, how to orient people into a system. At least these are things that you can even get it for free online.
Yeah.
And, you know, let us not mistake in that SMEs, majority of them are uneducated. I'm telling you, go to Mokola, go to Ashama, you will see educated people. Remember, people come out of university, they don't have jobs, and then they start their
small,
businesses. So, yes, our mother's generations, they are facing out. But the generation that is coming, a lot of them are well educated and they know how to fish out for information. But like we are saying, the mindset, that ownership mentality. I want to own everything. I want, I'm proud of being the owner and this and that. It's also impacting how, they are even bringing in people. Recently, somebody recruited a very young lady that I know. So I decided to interview that young lady. And I asked, so when you got into the organization, what were you taught? He said, they didn't teach me anything. I was just asked to start picking things on the shelves, cleaning. And then the next week she was at the cashier. She even learned it by herself. So such a person, she's just thrown into a system. How can that person even perform adequately for you to continue to retain that person? How can the person even be happy? There was no orientation to take the person round, to introduce the employees,
process,
and then, the vision, the mission, the values, and, the purpose of nothing of that sort. So when a business is run this way, obviously you have problem with people.
But you even have some of these SMEs, they don't have the vision, the mission, there's nothing out there to take anybody.
And all of these are actually the ones that build the culture of the organization. So if you don't have it, then you don't have a culture.
So we need an agency that will create that awareness amongst entrepreneurs to realize that every business has a mission, a vision, perhaps a strategy, the core values and the culture to teach the staff to be, at the same page with the owners of the company.
Yeah.
Now, we are unable to bring on board very highly skilled persons these days in the SMEs because of the salary that we can afford.
Yeah.
Now, what do we do to reassure them that you'll be with us when the business grows, we will all benefit? It's very difficult to, kind of tell newcomers that, look, things are rough, but stay with us. With time, it will improve and we will share. Then the question of trust again. When the business starts booming, do we fulfill our promise? Do we?
Because sometimes the business looks like it's booming, but it's not booming. So, I mean, there's money coming in, but it has to be used for other things to grow so that it's properly. So, if, like you're saying, the orientation is not there properly, they think their money is coming and you are not increasing their salaries and all that. It's so tricky.
Exactly. I'm sure with your business, you are not paying yourself.
No.
Right? Exactly.
I'm not
So,
paying,
when you get the first money coming in, the first thing you do is that you cost you the services you have offered the business. So now, normally when people are running business, what I tell them is that cost yourself, pay, put it in. Put it in. How much will you, what is your worth? What is your contribution? What is the value to the organization? When you put it down and you record this, it will help you. Because I've seen a lot of SMEs, the moment they get a fund, the boss have to chill. Because he has sacrificed. And when
they've suffered for too long.
But, if you don't have the money to hire, get an advisor.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Speak to people. Read. Our entrepreneurs are not interested in that. If you read, and as Audrey said, there are a lot of stuff online you can read that can help to position even your mind on what you want to do.
Yeah.
Anything you want to do, when you Google, you'll be able to understand clearly. What do I want to do? Is there a customer available? How do I change my products and service? One of my students is into Greek yogurt production, and she's reading about flavors. She has downloaded, what flavor am I going to do for the next 6 months? But how many of us we even advise them to read? They don't want to read. The moment the product is out there, the customer has to buy. It doesn't work that way. So they have to educate themselves on their own. And when you read, it gives you so much knowledge what you have to do.
And then just to add, you mentioned, they can afford to hire highly skilled employees. That is the fact. So in most cases, they go for these younger generation after school. But let us also remember that these younger generation, they also want to learn skills. They want to know. So at that level, most of them are not really motivated by, that big salary, because they know that when they get to understand the job, they acquire the relevant skills, it would increase their profile, and then they can progress. So you, the entrepreneur, even if you are one, at least upskill yourself so that you can transfer that knowledge to your employees. There is this client of mine, she believes in, skills development. So when she recruits you, she creates time for you to learn. She has online programs that she will expose you to. She herself, she understands her business. She has, upskilled herself. She's very knowledgeable and skilled in that industry. She generously transfers the knowledge to you. And then when you begin to perform, she gradually increases your salary, and then also encourages you to take certification, because it's a healthcare industry, so that you add value to yourself. Because of that, her employees have stuck with her for years.
Okay.
And she has seen them progressing from a lower level job to a managerial jobs. When I visited her, she showed me pictures of women that came to her, and she's also heavy on women, that, they were at a very lower level in their lives, and how they have progressed, they have added value to themselves in the same organization. And these people are very passionate and committed and supporting her business to grow. But like you said, honesty. She has also ensured that as the business grows, it affects your personal life.
Yeah.
You see yourself as an individual, as a person, also growing and progressing. But there will be companies that you will stick with them for years, and no value is added to you. Why would you want to be there?
They are scared, and they will tell you, I'm scared the moment I get Audrey in and she gets to know everything, she open a branch. Oh, exactly. The moment Audrey gets to know the flavors and everything I'm using, Audrey will open a branch.
And that mindset, I was in Kenya and somebody told her story that, look, I used to be afraid that if I bring somebody in and open up and then transfer knowledge, the person will go and then copy me. But later she realized that even if the person copies me, I become the market leader because I started this. My name was first out there. It also challenges me to now look at how I can even do better and improve on what I have introduced to the market. So it all boils down to the mindset thing.
But because you're even advised that be careful what you show them. Don't show them every
because it depends on the industry, particularly in the catering industry. They come in, they learn from you, your trade secrets, your cuisine, or what do we call it?
The recipe.
Recipe, And the next time they are with your competitor, they are gone. And even when you put a break on them to say that you cannot work with a competitor, say 6 months after you have been with me, fine. They'll wait. And then, so it's, and you spend money to train and to acquire some of these recipes and, the special skills you need to, prepare and market yourself. And then they take it away to your competitor. So it becomes very disheartening to want to bring on board people, train them in the hope that they're going to stay with you. And, and then you should also ensure, like we said earlier on, a very robust succession plan, career plan. So you know that today I'm an officer, I'll become an assistant manager, I'll become a manager. Ultimately, I'll become, say, a deputy managing director. In some of the SMEs, there is nothing, there's no structure. So you are in there as finance officer or HR officer and forever.
Exactly.
No, at least are very difficult realities, but the question is that we still have to find a way to encourage entrepreneurs to do all the things that are difficult to do in spite of all the things we talked about. So, for example, the issue about, if people get to see all the trade secrets, you train them and then they leave and then they go and set up their own practice. One way to possibly address that, depending on the industry, will be to adopt an apprenticeship mindset where you will actively encourage your employees to, for example, if you want to use a franchise model, you might want to actively encourage them. Those who want to stay can stay in because they are all the incentives and they can grow in the company. But those who are entrepreneurial and would like to exit and set up their own, you can actually encourage it. You can actually be an investor in that,
the entity they will go and set up.
You can actually open a branch for them to run, where they have the majority stake, you have a minority stake, and they run it. If that's not the case, you might be an investor. You might give them a startup capital because you know that they'll buy from you, they'll pick supplies from you, whatever it is, right? So you can build these linkages. It's one additional pathway to scaling. And it's not easy to do. It comes back to the trust issues. but it's definitely doable, and because we have to face the realities.
Yeah.
I mean, people want to set up their own things and they want to come and learn from you to go and do it, but you can be a part of that process as well.
Sure.
So that's possible. The other thing about the skill issue, I think it's a huge national crisis. It's a huge national crisis. We don't really have any proper skills framework. We might have it at a policy level, but at the firm level, operational level, it's really a challenge. We take it industry by industry. We're yet to really categorize the critical skills sets that are required for the success of every industry and every sub-industry in this economy. It's one of the things we need to do. And it's important to do it as a policy level and follow up to support entrepreneurs and SMEs to adopt and implement it, right? It's a gap, it's a big gap, because entrepreneurs get up, there are 1,001 things on their minds, they are multitasking, they have to be everything. If there's a one-stop shop, and Ghana Enterprises Agency and the rest, some of the business associations, AGI and the rest could be entities that could, work together, with government to introduce, some of these toolkits. It's very, very important. If you are a caterer, you open a restaurant, like Doc was saying, the critical skill set that you need for all your workers, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have the time to put that together because you don't really have a dedicated HR. But if you know that there's a one-stop shop where you could go and just download it, and there are business support services from, say, GEA that could come in and support you, together with the training, support, and all of that. There has to be some channel and some platform that makes it a lot easier, so that businesses and entrepreneurs can just tap into it and use it. Those who want to use it and who are serious about using it, there's a platform that they can just go and tap in. I think this is something we need. But the skills issue is a big, I call it a national crisis.
Yes.
The skill sets from academia are not necessarily supposed to prepare people for the industry. I mean, we keep talking about universities having to, but which professor, which lecturer possesses those industry skill sets themselves?
My brother, I moved from industry to academia.
Some
So then,
people like you,
example.
but most academics train their entire career path as academics. And then we expect them to train people for industry. It's not realistic.
I was just telling my boss this morning that you're running 2 businesses, you're doing well. That's SMEs. By now, there should be a book, even at UGBS or UPSC, on, because this is practical. Because we are reading from that is working for the USU, but really, but thank God we have the likes of Andrews who are now entering.
So there's a gap. Yes. We need to build a bridge from school to work. And that bridge needs to extend into the workplace.
That's right.
So learning by doing is the most effective way to train people. You can't train people in the classroom and expect that when they come to the workplace, they will be efficient. The real learning happens, the transition, and then in the early entry level in the workplace. That's where the real training happens. The bridge, we haven't built that bridge as a country properly. It doesn't exist. And I think we should stop this thing where we keep saying that universities and polytechnics are the ones who are supposed to equip people with job skills. No. That's not the case.
It has to be intentional.
They are supposed to train them. And the universities, the polytechnics, the places where they solve this problem, they have partnerships with industry.
Exactly.
Right? Which ensures that they do their part. And then this partnership enables industry to do the rest. So that by the time they are done with school, the real job skills trainings have been done through this partnership. We used to have attachments, they're still there, but I don't know what happened to it.
No. So we have at the University of Professionals, we have, you bring a report. So our students do accounting and the CA and others, they do with Deloitte, KPMG and the rest. And then at the University of Professional Studies, for our graduate school, for instance, we use the experiential learning approach. So for my course, for instance, I organize business seminars, a whole semester, 12 weeks, you meet people. You meet industry people who come and speak. It's a task we do, we design, they'll come and speak to you from industry. So that experiential learning, in 3 credit hours, you have to be in class and you write exams on whatever they've told you. And it's one of the ways that, so things are changing. Maybe it's so slow, we can't have the impact now.
But how do we make that work for small businesses? Because a lot of this works well for the medium and large scale. But for smaller businesses, how do we make that work for them? I think that's one of the...
So for instance, I know an institution that ABSA has partnered that provides just mentoring and coaching. For 5 weeks. You don't pay anything.
For free.
For free. ABSA pays. You are selected. I'm not doing an advert for ABSA. You are selected. You go through training in human resource, finance, ethics, leadership. This is one-on-one. It's fully paid for 5 weeks. And the shocking part is how people have been able to grow through such mentorship, which I also do at my university as well. So it's something that is changing.
Yes.
I think I want to...
Let me bring it, Dr. Audrey, come down, we take it.
Last week, well, the Chartered Institute of Human Resource has recruited a new chief executive. And so last week we had the opportunity of meeting with the Minister for Education. And he says that he wants to partner with the institute to run a program, like we said, a program that brings people from the classroom to industry. We need to build a bridge for the two to work closely together. And particularly when we have left the classroom and we are coming to the world of work, we are coming at a very low level. And therefore, yes, the small salary will attract you to come in. But we will build a program, like we are saying, not coaching, but more of a mentorship program for you to have a role model that you are working towards, and then we encourage you to learn the rudiments of whatever there is to do so that you stay with us. And I thought it was a good idea because he also said that he wasn't too sure whether there was any attempt at reconciliation between the employment policy and the educational policy. As we speak, we produce more than 100,000 graduates every year. Only 10% find jobs. So what happens to the remaining 90%? So we had a long debate, and I thought it was very interesting. And so he's going to push for that agenda for us to collaborate to ensure that from classroom there is a seamless transition into industry. And I think
I'll take your final.
Yeah, just a quick one. So I honestly, for me, I think fundamentally, the educational content, especially at the tertiary level, where we know that these students come and then, get into world of work or even start their businesses. The content has to be reviewed to inculcate these essential skills that we are talking about. Okay, you don't have to come out of the university and now get into industry and then begin to learn. Before you get into industry, at least the basic fundamental knowledge and skills that you require to enter, you have it. Then when you get there, you build on it. But how often do we review our educational, World Economic Forum has clearly come out with the relevant skills that are needed for now and the future. Have we considered these skills and incorporated in our educational content? So there has to be a whole overhaul of what is taught at the universities.
You know, I used to work with VRA. We had lecturers, as high as senior lecturers, coming to work when they take their sabbatical leave. Instead of traveling out of the country, they came, we put them on the payroll, and they worked as if they were normal workers, just to get a feel of the practical aspect of what they have been teaching.
But even today, industry players, they are happy to go and lecture in the universities. How do we foster these partnerships and create opportunities for people like us to also go and lecture? Because I'm happy to lecture.
Right. We like that one. I'll take a quick break. There are a lot of questions for you guys. It's coming in like crazy. So it's 12 o'clock. We have about 30 minutes to wrap up. So when we come, I'll take as many of the questions so that we allow our viewers who have been listening from when we started to have their questions answered. You're watching the SME forum. We are speaking to 4 great people here, Dr. Andrew Ayiku, Audrey Abaka, Michael Koto, as well as Dr. Edward Kwapon. My name is Vivian Kai. Look, we'll take a quick break. When we come, we'll take your questions. Do stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're welcome back to the City Business Festival, our forum on SMEs. Now, I see a lot of your questions coming in, so I'm going to try and run them together with mine as well. So let me take this first question coming from Evans Mensah, who is watching us from Cape Coast in the Central region. He wants to know the common pitfalls that new SMEs should avoid. Anybody can take that. Should I do 3 and then you answer, or we should take as we go?
I'll take a couple.
Okay, so the first one, common pitfalls to avoid. And then this one says, this is Yaira, she says, I want to know if there are some practical steps I can take to integrate sustainability into my business strategies. It appears sustainability is a new niche in entrepreneurship now. So he wants to know that. And then the third one, then we can take your answers. Are there key skills and talents an SME owner must prioritize developing within its workforce to foster resilience? So let's start with the pitfalls to avoid. Michael, I'll throw that to you.
So this is an entrepreneur that's starting out.
Yes.
Is that the case?
I believe so.
You believe
I
so?
believe this person is an entrepreneur. So Evans, you can correct us if you're how many years you've done and all that,
okay,
to help us to give you a proper
okay.
advice.
So there are many pitfalls, but there's some very important ones that you should definitely avoid. The first one is to avoid the situation where you don't have a clear business plan. You only start a business simply because you've seen a friend or someone start a business and it looks good. It looks like they are selling a lot of products, and you also go and start some, right? There's no clear path. There's no clear strategy. Yeah. So it's important to avoid that problem. A lot of people start businesses either out of necessity or out of, in terms of following some fashion or some trend. And it's not because they've really, sat down and thought it through and said, I really want to do this. I know I've taken account of all the elements and I have a plan and I know what I'm doing. So that should be avoided. You should clearly have a clear business plan. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a long, elaborate business plan. Even you can have a one-page business plan, but it gives you clarity. You know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you want to do it. It's very important. Should
it come with timelines or
It should come with timelines. You typically would need, say, if you're starting out a 24 month, that's a 2-year typical calendar, but of course you take it in quarters, first quarter, second quarter. The second thing, if you're starting out, is to know that a majority of businesses will fail, right? On average, 70 to 80% of new businesses, they not just will, they must fail. It's just, that's just,
they must die.
That's market forces, right? So when you're starting, you should know that the tides are against you. You are most likely to fail than to succeed, right? If you're starting out, that's really what the case is. You're most likely to fail within the first 2-3 years. So you need to have that at the back of your mind. Don't have any illusions about, I'm going to build the greatest business and it's supposed to work at all costs. So you need flexibility, mental flexibility, strategic flexibility to adapt. And that's important because it helps you to pivot and know how to adapt your strategy to market realities. And if you're testing a particular market and that's not the market for you, you don't have to succeed at all costs. If you have to pivot and shift strategy to a different product or whatever it is, you should. But I think you should never go into any industry without having trained yourself, acquired the necessary training and knowledge about that industry. I think that is an absolute must. So if you have to undergo some apprenticeship from someone who has mastered the industry, you should do it. If you have to do some entrepreneurial internship, it's not just job internships that people do. You can approach another entrepreneur who is doing very well in that industry and say, I admire you. I'd like you to coach and mentor me for the next couple of months. I'll work for you, but I'm not working here to stay here as an employee. Make it very clear. If the person really wants to support you, they will support you for a 6-month process. They will teach you whatever it takes to know about the industry. So getting the right mentorship, the right knowledge about the industry is important. There are many, the thing is that these are fundamentals. If you avoid these fundamental pitfalls, you are most likely to avoid many of the other pitfalls ahead of you. So I won't go into all the other many details. I'll stick with these ones. Have clarity, Have a clear business plan of what you want to do. The second one is that you should know that a business is more likely to fail than to succeed. Okay, it's a law of entrepreneurship. Market forces will deal with you. So be flexible, mentally flexible, strategically flexible to know how to pivot if you're testing the market is not working. And the third one is to make sure that you have acquired the knowledge and the training and the mentorship and the apprenticeship you need. These you should avoid not doing these things.
Okay.
Vivian, can I add
Just okay.
just one? I think you should avoid thinking of your solution, rather focusing on the customer problem. The customer have taste, needs, preferences. It is not what you are offering in the market. If you think about your solution more than what the customer problem is, you will fail.
Yeah.
And this is based on research, where people come out and say, this is the bag I want to sell. And when they go to the market, there is no customer.
It's true.
And avoid selling to everybody.
But I have a question for that.
Please.
So I designed a bag, one of my collections, which I thought was so lovely. I went to the market, nobody was buying. Audrey, you're laughing. Nobody was buying, you know, but I thought it was so beautiful.
So that is you think.
Yes, this is me. And I learned it the hard way at the beginning. So now when I showcasing, people give you, you know, oh, I think we'll like it. I now incorporate it. But you know, this is the latest one I got and you need to help me. I don't do men's stuff. So now I get a lot of men say, oh, I want you to do a wallet for me. And I'm thinking, this is a woman's line. What do I do with a thing like that? That is moving away.
Be very careful.
Don't.
If 2-3 people tell you they need a wallet, doesn't mean the market need a wallet.
Exactly my
Please.
point.
Yeah.
So don't jump into it.
Okay.
Don't think it's an opportunity for you to diversify. It's a total no.
Yeah.
Please do a research. Get feedback. So for instance, how many men have told you they need a wallet?
I think about 4 or 5.
What kind of wallet do they need?
You know, men, they can use their wallet for like 20 years. So they'll remove it and say, see. And I'm like, you've kept this wallet for 20 years. So if I do this wallet, that means once in 5 years or 20, there's no point here.
Is
but
there
then
a business you want
I'm
to
thinking,
run? Oh, yeah, no, be very careful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be very careful. It's
Okay.
not a revenue stream or a revenue model. You can't base it on it.
Okay, so concentrate on the customer's needs, not what you want. Okay,
no, yeah.
great.
Just
Okay,
to add
good
one from the finance perspective
Yeah.
on what to avoid.
Yeah.
When you are starting up a business, you know, you should know that banks don't finance startup plans.
Okay.
You know, it's a debt, you know, we deal in debt funding. So avoid, you know, putting in all the effort and, you know, the time to go and pitch to a bank to
At the
invest in your startup plan. You know, you may be frustrated because most of the banks do not have the framework to support startups. If you see banks supporting startups, then they have partnered with, let's say, a development partner, and they have obtained some level of grant, and they are giving that money for free.
Okay.
Because like Michael said, about 70% of these startups will fail. So when a bank is investing in a startup, you are investing with the mind that you are not getting the money back. And then if you have been able to, if you are able to manage the business to, let's say, year 1, year 2, year 3, and a bank gives you money, you know, based on your financial performance, avoid diversifying the funds into something that you didn't intend to use the money for.
Yeah.
Most SMEs actually make that error. And the moment they diversify the funds, they actually fail to pay. Now, if you fail to pay your loan, your name goes through the entire banking sector because of the Ghana reference system. Every bank gets to know that you are a defaulter. It destroys your credit records, and it makes it difficult for you to approach a bank for, you know, additional funding.
Okay. Doc, from your side, what pitfalls should they avoid?
Richard Branson says that the people are the business. Pay attention to the people, the human resource base of the enterprise.
Okay.
You need that very seriously. Otherwise, you are likely to fail.
Okay.
And then believe in teamwork.
Okay.
And we are all unique in our respective individuals.
The talents we
So
come
try
on board with.
and understand everybody. You cannot say somebody is useless. So see the good in people The moment you brand somebody as a useless person, you have lost the game.
Yeah.
So let us be mindful of that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. The issue of sustainability, we'll take that. It's become a new thing. Even people now tell you, change your profile, add sustainability. It's a big discussion now.
Exactly, because
should we fall for that? Go with that?
So that's another course that we have actually revised our program at the University of Professional Studies, and we've included sustainability practices. So gone are the days where the focus was on profit. We are not thinking about people. We are not thinking about the planet. So you can't operate a business on your own. You have to think about the community, the social issues, and the sustainability. So COVID taught us that businesses can collapse.
Yeah.
COVID taught us that if people don't buy in a week, people will close down. So what is your sustainability strategy for your business? And that's one of the things we ask them. So there's a sustainability business model canvas. For you should know. If you don't, what should in the next 6 months, if the dollar is still there, will you be sustainable? Because there are so many factors that will collapse you immediately.
Yeah.
So when you take the factors, check your sustainability risk management, each one of them.
Yeah.
And that is, for a human, one of the sustainability is that if your staff leave, what happens?
Yeah.
What about Audrey gives you money?
Yeah.
And you are not able to pay? Will you be sustainable? Then you run away to Kumasi or somewhere else.
Take over.
Exactly. So this morning, you guys did something. You said agri-businesses, they are using cocoa farms.
Yes.
A friend called me.
Thing.
Yes, a friend called me. He took a loan. I won't mention the name of the bank.
Yeah.
And the brother went to sell to the Galamsey people to, I will give you the money to go and pay. Nobody has given him anything.
Dear.
So what was, so even your skill, what is your sustainability? Will you be able to survive to the end of the year? ChannelOne, what is our sustainability plan? These are key questions you need to ask yourself when you go for meetings.
Yeah.
Will customers continuously listen to you? Businesses are collapsing because they don't have a sustainability plan. So apart from the business plan, now there's even a component of the business plan where you need to include your sustainability for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Exactly.
And I'm sure when you're going to the bank to pick money, they will ask you.
Exactly. You know, there is a company that wanted, about $1 million funded. And it was a sole proprietor. You understand? So we had to engage the client to change the legal structure because clearly, it doesn't communicate the sustainability we're talking about. Everything revolves around you. You are the only person that signs the check. You are the only person that is in control of the business. How can you, be trusted with $1 million? So the business had to, change into a limited liability. And the moment you move into that level, you are talking about governance and sustainability. Your governance. You are talking about your succession plan and business continuity plan. All of these things coming into play to give the bank the comfort that even in your absence, in the event where you are not able or you are incapable of running the business, at least there are structures in place to continue to utilize the funds, productively or judiciously to return it back to us. Because for us, we are interested in you returning the money back to us. We will not give you peace. In fact, when you borrow from me and you don't pay, you won't have your peace. Because I will be on your neck to pay.
Currently, we seem to have moved from the corporate social responsibility to ESG, environment, social, and governance. And the governance regime is also very important for sustainability purposes. So you are preparing your accounts, auditors are seeing your accounts, you are submitting your returns. It ensures that you are in good business and you are meeting all the requirements. So ESG, I believe you are very familiar with.
Yes.
All right. This one says, are there key skills and talents an SME owner must prioritize developing within its workforce to foster resilience? Are there key skills and talents they must prioritize developing within their workforce to foster resilience?
I will give one, and then maybe the others. The number one, leadership is key. You, the entrepreneur, your leadership skills, very, very important. And then the customer experience. The whole business philosophy is driven by customers. So you must be able to train your employees with the necessary and essential skills to be able to manage your customers in a manner that they would go and return. And customer experience and service is an area that a lot of businesses do not pay attention to. You know, it's like it has been left to the large corporate, the corporate organizations who actually have come to understand the importance of service and its experience, and have put in structures, even getting their service head sitting at their management level. You know, but you don't have to be an APSA, you don't have to be an MTN to incorporate customer experience into your system.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning of your business, you the leader, you have to be customer oriented and centric. Learn the skills, learn the behaviors, and as you progress in your business, put in place the right processes and structures that would enhance the experience of your client. If you fail to do that, that sustainability we are talking about, your business will not grow beyond maybe yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll add two more. I think financial management,
Absolutely.
you know, basic bookkeeping to begin with, and all the other things that you have to go with keeping a good account and having, micro, small, informal operations. So we typically don't, a lot of SMEs don't build, build that practice, but it's absolutely important. That has to be prioritized. The other one I think is quality management, quality control, and consistency in delivery, service delivery.
Yeah.
A lot of small businesses do very well. They introduce very good products that start selling very well, and then you realize that there are inconsistencies in the quality of the product, inconsistencies in the taste of the product, inconsistencies in the whole offering. That inconsistency issue happens usually because they start scaling. So when you're selling to 10 people, when you're selling to 15 people, it's easier, right? Once the thing, you get a lot of customer interest and you scale to 100 customers, you're going to 200 customers, the quality starts going down. So there's no consistency, right? That's a big issue in the SME space, especially those, it's doing small, micro, home-based production. It's a big issue. And dealing with that is extremely important to sustain your customer base and keep growing it. Because I have abandoned very fantastic, products simply because of this inconsistency issue. So quality management, quality control, quality consistency, a lot of it is that it drops because you're scaling, right? So they switch focus. Oh, I'm scaling. I'm now serving 200 people. No, you can't sustain that growth because of that inconsistency. Very soon you drop back down. So that's a big issue that a lot of small businesses should pay attention to.
Okay. So for me, the first thing is your value proposition. People are not concerned about price. They are concerned about the value that your products and services bring to them. Yeah, the price can be there, but you meet people holding very expensive phones. I go to class and students are holding very expensive phones. I have to put my phone in my pocket. When you ask them why are they using those phones, is the value it brings to them. My second point is that if you want to survive, you want to operate, and you want to grow, be flexible and be adaptable.
Sure.
Okay.
Be flexible. I know a lot of SMEs, if they don't sell in a day, they can't do anything. Flexibility means when it rains in Ghana, people don't go out to buy. Who buy your phone? Who buy your food? I'm sure your bags, people buy based on seasons.
Yeah.
So your next sale will be when?
The sale.
Yes, when are you selling more? When do you think you sell more?
So December.
Thank you.
Christmas
So from now to December, won't they change their bags?
They will. So
So
there will be
your
something.
flexibility will depend on the kind of social media content you develop. Because you need to force them to buy now because they are using bags. Exactly. So
I'm
that's
even going to sell one to Audrey Crab by force.
Oh, but I thought you were giving it to me.
Hey, Banker, are you encouraging me to give things for free?
she told you when she gives you money, you won't have any peace.
Yes, and she wants me to be giving freebies.
Exactly. A brand ambassador.
Exactly. So your flexibility and adaptability is key, including your skills now.
Yeah.
Jobs are changing. A friend works with a patient company, went for an interview, everything. They gave him a laptop. He'll be working from home.
Wow.
He was shocked in Ghana.
Yeah.
And he has been working from home. The laptop, they can see everything. So when it's not on, they know.
Oh, boy.
And I told him, so where is the flexibility in your skill? And you need to adapt. At the university, students are telling you, why don't you run the course online?
Online, yeah.
If you are a lecturer born before computer, BBC, then you can't teach.
Too bad for you.
So value proposition, flexibility and adaptability will help you to grow your business. Sure.
Okay.
Thank
all right.
you.
Yes.
Thank you, Doc.
I was talking to a businessman in Ghana. He's a Swiss. And one day, a customer came asking for a payment of a debt. You know, and he says, I'll pay half of that amount, but I had access to his financials. So I called him to the side and I said, why don't you pay and get your piece? He says, no. On paper, you can be very profitable. But in terms of cash flow, you may be insolvent. So be careful. So businessmen should have, like you said, financial management skills, particularly interpretation of financials and the management of their cash flow. Because you may have money on paper, but in reality, your liquidity will be zero. So that is very important for the sustainability of businesses. Then you must have risk management skills.
Okay.
You must have an appetite for risk management. Know the areas that may go haywire and how to quickly turn around and sustain the business. Then I also believe that they should have critical thinking skills, critical, fundamental, native intelligence and business intelligence and all that, including systems thinking. Look at the broader picture rather than narrowing yourself to the business that you find yourself in. And finally, the bottom line, HR, which was practiced right from day one in heaven when God created the man. He started managing them. Adam and Eve. So
Okay.
I think fundamentally, digital skills. We are in a digital technology era.
Artificial intelligence.
We cannot, close this chapter without reminding our listeners that digital skills, learning how to use these digital tools and platforms now, it's a very critical skills that we should all learn.
Okay.
I think a little business law and understanding is very important. We enter all kinds of contract arrangements and business arrangements, and oftentimes we don't. Sometimes it's not like the properly signed business arrangement. You do a handshake, right? But it's underpinned by some sort of negotiation. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned is you only realize how bad a contract you've signed is when there are problems. We sign a lot of bad contracts. We never realize how bad they are because there are never issues. The contract, you execute the whatever it is, and everything moves on. But once you have a dispute and you go back to the contract, that's when you realize all the things you overlooked, all the fine print you overlooked. Sometimes even after you've gotten a lawyer to look at it. And that's tricky because often lawyers look at the legal issues. You, the entrepreneur, are the one that has to look at the commercial issues. And lawyers are not supposed to take care of your commercial negotiation. They can advise, but at the end of the day, you are the one. So how you marry the legal and the commercial into one contract? I think if one advocacy I'll make is that many entrepreneurs and business owners, as much as possible, should enroll in some sort of short. I don't see a lot of it around. I think that's one of the things, short courses in, basic business law, contracting, stuff like that. It would be very, very good for us to have a lot of those for entrepreneurs and business people. But I would encourage a lot of business people to sign up for this.
We have a short course in business law and taxation.
How long is it? 6 months?
Yes, 6 months, but it's more practical.
More practical,
taught by a lawyer and a tax practitioner at the university. But that was for entrepreneurs. So they'll take you through the taxes you have to pay, how to file your taxes.
Compliance.
And then we bring a lot of guest speakers from GRA. They have a lot of taxes.
So ask myself, I should come and run some LPMs and ads on City and tell us all these things. And we'll give you discount. Because you guys have a lot going on.
Exactly, sure. No, I think we'll talk about it.
They should also take interest in the ADR mechanisms. It's not everything that you run to court.
That's
sure. You can resolve it at the level of the two parties, and then it gives you a lot of time to focus.
This one goes to you, Audrey. The person wants you to talk about financial strategies they can build to ensure their business is resilient even during economic downturns, because, quote, the government cannot be trusted. They say.
Yeah,
Strategies.
so when it comes to finance, it's the lifeblood of every business, and it's important that as a small and medium enterprise, you have, you do well to position yourself in a manner where you don't run your business without money. So as a business entrepreneur, you have to be very efficient in how you manage your cost. You have to, somebody said that when the money starts coming in, the next thing is to buy the latest car, to buy the most expensive phones. I don't think these are prudent.
Yeah.
You would want to reinvest your profit that comes to grow the business. And there are benefits in growing businesses, because as you grow, you are able to afford some of the services, of, let's say, the Michaels to help you structure your business to the extent where we will be comfortable to now begin to give you, long-term funding. So as you get these monies, you have to manage them prudently. And then you also must understand, the flow of your money, from where it starts and then where it ends. There's one thing I like about these series. We always use them as examples of businesses that have been generationally successful. Go to any Lebanese company, any Syrian, any Indian. They are the ones sitting by the money. They don't leave the money to another person.
Yeah.
It is them, their families or relatives, all about them.
Trust.
You won't see a Ghanaian sitting by their money.
No.
They are in charge of their finances, right from where it begins and then where it ends. As a business owner, you must be involved. You must have, the interest and the control over your finances. And then, there is a lot more that is talked about theft. A lot of them have that challenge where they lose money through thievery. So as you gain some funds coming through the business, try and put in place these technology systems that helps you manage your finances, that it doesn't actually go into the hands of a third person. So leverage the systems that are in place. And even, most of the banks have digital tools to enable SMEs to flow their funds right from, their mobile wallet into the bank. A lot of them will not do it. They want to handle cash. You understand?
Okay.
But they should be able to utilize that. And then I know there isn't time. So finally, let me say that they also must, try and ensure that the bank that they have partnership with, they should do well to channel their funds through the bank. Because that is the only way the bank can assess their financial strength. And because most of them do not have the audited financials and, they struggle to keep their books, the bank system is able to actually determine some level of cash flow performance of these small and medium enterprises and are able to lend against that. So they should channel all of these finances through the bank so that the banks can at least look at how they have performed and then support them to some extent.
All right, thank you. We have to end. Our time is up. Time runs while you're having a good conversation. But thank you so very much. This is our forum on the SME industry. Brings to the end of our forum for this year for the City Business Festival. A great team I had this afternoon taking us through the discussions. We had Dr. Edward Kwapong. He's the president of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management. We had Dr. Andrew Ayiku, coordinator of the MBA on Entrepreneurship and Innovation for the University of Professional Studies, right? Yes. And then also we had Audrey Abaka, who is a director, SME Agency Banking and Partnership at APSA, as well as Michael Koto is a managing partner for Confidence. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. We're wrapping up this week. Of course, the conversation will continue on radio on 97.3 FM, City FM. But let me acknowledge our sponsors for this year as we wrap up the 2024 edition of the City Business Festival, powered by, of course, 97.3 FM and ChannelOne TV, in partnership with ABSA Bank and sponsored by MTN, AMG Fertilizer, Insano, Agri Impact Limited, and Gersel. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again next year. Goodbye.